"Please stop kicking me," Maya Johnson cried, voice swallowed by the clink of silverware and the low hum of conversation. People glanced up, then looked away, as if avoiding the moment would make it disappear. She came into the evening shift at the Birch and Oak with a careful hope that fit in her apron pocket. Maya was 31, a single mother who worked double shifts to pay for her mother's medication and keep her son Marcus in school. She moved through the dining room with practiced courtesy. The polite smile she wore was a shield she polished every morning. The private table belonged to David Harper, a CEO whose ruthless deals matched his taste for expensive wine. His investors laughed like currency. When Maya approached, he barked, "Merlot. Make it quick." "Yes, sir," she replied, hands steady though her body trembled. As she bent to pour, a polished shoe struck her calf. A deliberate push, the chair scraped back and a heel connected with her shin. "Watch where you stand," David snapped. I'm sorry, sir," Maya said. He nudged his foot again. "Move out of my way. You people always get in the way." She whispered, barely audible, "Please stop kicking me." Silence grew. One companion chuckled, another looked down. The manager, Carl, glanced and turned away. Other servers hurried past, pretending the incident was nothing. Maya retreated to the kitchen. Rosa, a line cook, handed her a towel. "You all right?" she asked. Maya forced a laugh. "I'm fine. Just clumsy." Rosa's eyes said otherwise. "Don't let them do that." Maya couldn't make a scene. Between her mother's prescriptions and Marcus's after-school program, there was no margin. Her life had always been a ledger of compromises, extra hours at the restaurant, skipping lunches to save, turning down invitations so the gas could be paid. There were nights when she studied community college brochures under kitchen light, dreaming of owning a little cafe where kindness was the real currency. She returned to the floor, serving plates with a smile that felt like a mask. After the party left, David threw a few crumpled bills at the table. "Maybe buy better shoes with that," he sneered. Maya counted coins, barely enough for bus fare, and blinked back tears. Samuel Ellis, a man at the doorway with steady eyes and a worn coat, stepped forward and pressed a 20 into her hand. "Don't let him take your worth," he said. "This isn't charity," he insisted. "It's a reminder some people remember how to be decent." She folded the bill into her apron. "Thank you." That night, Marcus curled against her, and she listened to the slow, steady music of his breathing. Her mother, Elaine, slept in a room 2 blocks away, a schedule of pills and appointments mapping the months. The next morning Carl called her into the office. "Mr. Harper complained," he said. "We have to protect our clientele. I'm sorry, but we have to let you go." The job that paid bills and bought groceries was gone. Maya left with her apron folded like a white flag. She sat on a bench, numb, while the city moved around her. Samuel noticed and offered coffee. In a small diner over steaming cups, Maya told him about Marcus, about Elaine's diagnosis and how prescriptions stacked like small mountains, about the dream she had shelved when life demanded survival. Samuel listened. He had built modest wealth through a lifetime of small real estate investments and a belief that business could be a force for good. "Tell me what you need to make that cafe happen," he said. She admitted she didn't know where to start, no capital, no experience. Samuel introduced her to people who would become unlikely allies, an accountant who drew up a feasible budget, a retired chef who taught her about sourcing local produce, and a landlord who favored tenants with community-minded ideas. They drafted a business plan and sketched the cafe's layout on napkins and old receipt paper. The path forward was bumpy. David Harper used his influence to whisper doubts to a couple of small investors. A supplier cited risk and backed out. Someone posted a rumor online that questioned Maya's character, painting her as difficult. The smear campaign was subtle but corrosive, the kind that spreads through whispers and uncertainty. Panic scraped Maya's voice. "Maybe this is too big," she said, eyes raw. Samuel's answer was steady: if we stop, he wins. If we keep going, we change a small piece of the world for the better. She learned to read balance sheets and to negotiate lease terms. Late nights were filled with calls to small agencies, revisions to menus, and meetings with community leaders. Marcus painted mock signs and learned how to steam milk in the evenings, giggling when foam climbed like clouds. The family tightened around the dream, friends donated mismatched cups, and neighbors offered the kind of help that comes with open hands. When the bakery oven finally arrived, Maya wept in the doorway, feeling like someone who had crossed an invisible desert. Haven and Hearth opened on a chilly morning with a modest crowd. The first week was sparse, the second brought return customers. People came for coffee but stayed for the welcome. Regulars arrived with late notices of hospital bills or job interviews. Maya learned names and stories and offered a listening ear along with a warm scone. David Harper did not let it rest. He bought a column ad with veiled accusations about the cafe's funding sources and alleged improprieties. That morning, a few donors pulled back, shaken by the suggestion that their support might be tainted. The smear was meant to isolate the cafe from the very community it sought to serve. What followed surprised David. The community rallied. A local blogger wrote an honest piece about standing against power wielded cruelly. The neighborhood association organized a potluck fundraiser. School parents mounted a small campaign to encourage local commerce. A book club hosted a reading at Haven and Hearth, and someone organized a weekend market in the square. But not every day was a victory. Suppliers delayed shipments after phone calls from unknown numbers. A landlord insisted on stricter lease terms. There were nights when Maya closed alone, the silence of the empty cafe pressing against her chest, and she wondered if any of it had been worth the price. Samuel's presence remained quiet but unyielding. He wrote checks when the oven needed unexpected repairs and introduced Maya to a lawyer who filed a cease and desist against the false online allegations. He never took the lead in public, he preferred to stand behind and give scaffolding to her work. Months later, the ripple turned tide. Business steadied. Marcus began a part-time job helping with deliveries, proud to carry sacks of flour into their warm kitchen. Elaine, whose medications no longer arrived late because Maya could now afford refills on time, attended a book reading at the cafe and sat with a cup of tea, eyes bright. One striking autumn morning, David Harper walked into Haven and Hearth alone. Sunlight slanted across the room, people smiled and read quietly. Marcus was at a corner table, coloring. Samuel sat at the counter with a newspaper. David placed a bill on the counter and left without a word. It was a small, awkward concession, more a sting to his pride than a real apology. The response that mattered came from the neighborhood. People who had once deferred in boardrooms found their voices in a small cafe. They spoke up, supported locally owned businesses, and began to question the entitlement that had been tolerated. Maya's success was not a triumph born of wealth alone but of steady, communal care and refusal to be erased. The memory of the heel on her shin never vanished completely, but its power shifted. It became a part of a larger story, one of dignity restored, of a community choosing to defend the vulnerable, and of a man who used his means to open a door rather than close it. On a late afternoon, with golden light pooling on the floor, Maya watched Marcus hand a napkin to an elderly patron and felt something settle in her chest. The cafe hummed, conversation, clinking cups, laughter that rose easily. A crooked sign hung over the door, "Everyone is welcome here." Maya kept Samuel's $20 bill folded in a drawer, not as a token of charity but as a memory of how a single act of decency had shifted the course of a life. In the years that followed, Haven and Hearth became more than a cafe, it became a seedbed for second chances. Maya started weekend training for young people who needed flexible hours, teaching registers, customer care, and basic bookkeeping. Marcus helped new hires with patience he had learned from watching his mother. Elaine's medicines arrived on time, and she attended readings with a proud smile. Samuel kept his distance but returned sometimes to sit in the corner, never seeking notice. Maya installed a brass plaque by the door, "Built on dignity, community, and courage. It was a daily reminder that ordinary acts, an offered 20, a word of support, a shared meal, could redirect a life. One autumn afternoon Maya told the gathered neighbors, "We did this together." The applause was not only for her, but for everyone who refused to let another person be invisible. So much.